Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. As you can see, I'm joined by a couple of messers from the south. Barry Drake is joining us from his Youghal base. You may not know that Barry is based around the Youghal area, pretty much ingrained in the whole scene down there. And Tommy Lyons, the exile dub, also in Youghal, but not on this occasion. I think he's down in the stall in from what it looks like, the bridal suite, Tommy Lyons.
Well, and very much entitled to have it in, yeah. Enjoying life in the stall, just
Yeah,
outside the stall, Gary.
you
Lovely
were
place now.
you were in Cork at the weekend. You were at Curraheen Park for the opening round of the Barwon Racing Irish Laurels, and a big crowd by all accounts.
Yeah, there was a big crowd. There was a benefit night on as well, and there was just I mean, we arrived about 20 minutes before the first race, and trying to get a car parking space was difficult enough. It was great to see it, and I hope it's that way right through the competition because, again, it's down to the amount of effort. I know, we can watch all these big stakes from afar in, but when you're close enough to see what's going on and what goes behind them to try and make them work, it's just great that somebody appreciates that a crowd actually turns up for it. So yeah, there was a great crowd Saturday night, and some great performances too.
Yeah, the fastest dogs need to be seen in the flesh, no question about it. Barry Drake, you think Tommy and yourself, being the fact that you share a car ride to the Curraheen Park, would have a reserve spot given the clout that the two of you carry?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you pointed that out. Hopefully the people in charge are listening to this.
We'll send a memo to Ireland on and see if they can organise it. Let's get into it because it was a tremendous night's racing. You know, we talk about the Laurels, we talk about Laurels type greyhounds, and it is a different type of dog, but yet there were some very familiar names there. The two fastest heat winners were Easy Razzle and Jack Tavern Bolt, both with plenty of form around Curraheen Park. Tommy Lyons, Jack Tavern Bolt coming out of A1 company, although it's fair to say he hasn't been performing at an A1 level over the last few weeks. This fellow is just absolutely flying.
No, and there was something really, really, really pleasing about this performance. It was the fact that he went back from a 318. It says 323. I didn't even nearly doubt that. Looking at it, it didn't look like that. It was for him, for a dog that had been leading and winning A1 races, to miss the kick slightly and to come from behind showed maturity. Like, you're stepping up from A1 to classic level, not just to open class, but to classic level, and to be able to produce that. That was huge. Now, Barry and I talked about this before the competition, and Barry made a good point about how it would be difficult for a dog to run as many weeks in a row as he did and perform to the level he did, and then continue it now right through the Laurels, because it's going to be a tough competition. But like, there was something really good about this. This was just a bit more mature than we'd seen previously from him, like another string to his bowing. Um,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of look at him and you say, I would have thought maybe if he doesn't need, he might be in a bit of trouble. Quite the opposite. Now, okay, the level of competition will obviously get tougher, as you go through the heats. But this was definitely a nice step forward, quite a significant step forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, Barry, you might be able to enlighten me, but I went looking for the third bend sectional spot on the back straight, couldn't find it. I have a feeling when you look at it on the screens, it's behind the winning post. Does that make sense? There's a big circular thing that appears in the winning post, and I think that blocks it out. I would give Jack Tavern Bolt just in front at that point. He was just after striking the front, 15.98, the only dog to break 16 seconds in the entire round. That says it all, really, about a dog who had to work to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Well said there. Look, I thought it was a remarkable performance, and the pace he showed around the opening turns, and as you said, down into the third bend, 15.98. That's as good as it gets really around Curraheen Park. And Tommy said when the move too soon dog got off to such a good start. I'm sure supporters of that for the Kieran Lynch local kennel, I thought they were going to go on and land the spoils, but no, as I said, it was just top class from Jack Tavern Bolt, and he's a popular greyhound at the moment in Curraheen Park, and we'll be hoping that he can reach the final, and we'll welcome the lads back down to Cork, the Pillar Syndicate. They were there for the final recently. They had a great night, and I know they ended up in the Keys Bar and Youghal as well. So hopefully we can repeat that and get them to the final. That might be great for Cork.
I met them. I met them on Saturday night. I was talking to the boys in question. They won't be there next Saturday night. Do you know why? Because they'll be in Perry Bar. They'll be in Perry Bar. They have a St. Ledger finalist in Jack Tarbella. We'll get to her later on. Moved to soon ran very well in second spot. Not a dog I knew an awful lot about, but he's a fine card, Barry. He's obviously a very, very talented tracker around Curraheen.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he's delivered, some top class performances over the course of the last couple of months, and he's always at his best when drawing close to the rails. There was plenty of support for him on the night, but unfortunately, he just bumped into Jack Tavern Bolt at his very best, and to see him in Cork over the course of the last 5 or 6 weeks has, been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and back in third, road exile. He missed the kick. There's certainly better to come from him around Curraheen Park, but he will need to have his strapping boots on because he's very much a front runner. Although you would have probably have said the same about Jack Trevor Bolt. He had to work to get there, and in the end, moved too soon is coming back at him at the winning line. But a fine display, none the same. Moving on to, or moving back, should I say, to Heat 9, the other fastest heat winner, Easy Razzle Tommy. This lady had been in flying form in the Munster Oaks. The key with her is she went up fast. This was her success. The Easy Razzle in Heat 9. She popped out. She's leading to the corner. She's taken over at that point by Glory Baz, who showed great early speed to get there. He went on and does 16:03 to the third bend, but Easy Razzle is too strong. 28:07 off at 3:25. If she keeps that 3:25 in her book, she can play a big part in this, Laurels.
Yeah, she can. Because like I wasn't expecting that. I have to be honest. I wasn't expecting a 3:25 or even anything close to it. To be quite honest about it, maybe she's on the up. As well as the three, as you say, Glory Baz actually had to track very very well to get to the front at the bend. Had to hold this line well. She's obviously improving. She's obviously capable of going under 28 seconds and all that. I think it's a look. Things are getting much more difficult. Start of the competition in 72 dogs. Many wide seeds.
Not too many, I'll tell you. It was
Five.
Middles, it was middles all the way, yeah.
No, it wasn't really. It was five wides and eight middles
Yeah.
in the entire competition. Tells its own story, doesn't it?
It does. Should probably get her draw then.
Yeah, you get your draw, but it's a Laurels, and there's going to be a huge amount of early pace on the inside. It's even why we'll talk about it in a minute when we get on to Carrick-Aldo. Despite a phenomenal display, why he might struggle as the competition goes on. But Easy Razzle, like just what she has, okay. If she can continue to break into mid 320 kind of sections early, she's a real powerhouse. This was a huge effort. She flew up the straight. I don't know what her third bend home, Barry. Do you have the third bend home? Maybe she was I thought it looked like a huge effort.
Yeah, well, if Glory Baz is doing 16:03 and he's still in front of the third bend and it's one in 28:07, she's doing around 12 seconds or better, which is easily amongst the fastest there. No question about it.
I think there's more to come from her as well. I just wasn't. I was surprised. Like she had been reasonably busy.
Or 11:98 is it? 1 second, sorry, 16:03 she done, and she ended up with 28:04.
28:07. I had Glory Baz doing the 16:03. See, I don't know where that third bend sectional starts.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that's sorry, yeah.
It's tricky. Barry, she's obviously a lady in flying form. Johnny Linden has a great record around Curraheen Park for obvious enough reasons. That's where he races his dogs largely, and that's where he schools a lot of his dogs. And she knows her way around. There's no question about that. But it was still such a power-packed performance. Like the fact that she led to the opening corner. Yes, she's headed and she comes back again, but I thought it was very pleasing.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, obviously winning the Dave Collins Memorial Munster Oaks down in Waterford last week was, a big success for Connections. And, it was great to see her, transfer that form in Cork a week later. She'll be a big local hope in the competition. And, we're always looking for a local runner in the final. But, she's got bundles of all-round speed. And, at her strongest, obviously, in the second half of the race. But, yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. I still don't know how she went off 7-2 to win the Munster Oaks last weekend. I thought that was an unbelievable price. Glory Baz obviously ran well in second, and have to give a mention as well to Naughty, who finished third, who's competed on the graded scene in Curraheen Park for a good number of months. But she made great progress in recent times. For Jack Foley McGann, who's a young man involved with Castlemartyr GA, only has a couple of dogs, and they were even at the draw on Monday night. So look, there's always so many success stories, and they're just delighted to be in the second round of the Laurels. And I think that's what makes greyhound racing so special. It's not all about winning.
Yeah, another holiday was a big name, a casualty there. He was the fight for favourite, just didn't quite happen for him. And Naughty staying on strongly at 14-1 to finish back in third spot. We're going to skip ahead. I'm just going to talk about Heat 12. Tommy's already alluded to it. Carrick-Aldo, for me, the most pleasing Heat winner of the lot. Missed the kick, flew up into the opening corner, ran an incredible first bend to take it up between the first two bends. Goes on to win pretty comfortably in 28:15, 16:06. That could easily have been a 15:90 as far as I'm concerned, Tommy. Very taking display. I understand what you're saying about the draws, but I think his starting will improve, and it just wouldn't surprise me if I saw him the next couple of rounds too clear into the opening corner of proper early pace greyhounds. Like, this is the dog that won what I think turned into a bit of a vintage sort of Bar One Irish Sprint Cup. Same connections as our good mate Brody's Magic. Here we are, Carrick Aldo, hugely talented greyhound, no question about it.
Yeah, like this might as well have been a 2780 run. It could have been a 2780 run if he broke it all. I mean, for a dog like him to do 334, which is in a normal Saturday night, it's a decent break, decent split. In Laurels territory, it's almost pedestrian because you've got to be doing sub 320 to get down on the 318s like Jack Tavernbolt did a couple of weeks ago. It's given away a lot. Just concerned, he's a middle seed, right? And if you're a middle seed in this competition, you're likely to be drawn in six most of the way. That's just in terms of as it goes on. It's going to be difficulty with so many inside seeds, and it's not just the Laurels. We saw what happened to the laddie dad the other night in the juvenile derby. But the only thing is, it's only his second competitive 5-2-5. So who knows where he can go from here? I mean, he could be an absolute machine. He could rout the opposition right through the competition. And we're talking about a special greyhound for next year. But it just concerns me. His trapping might improve. It probably should improve. I think we've seen what he can do in sprints. And I mean, you weren't getting away with much in Dundalk when you had to do 2080 or 2084 to win a Bar One sprint final, and there were a number of greyhounds breaking 21 seconds. I think I agree with you. I think there was depth in that final up in Dundalk, and I think it was a really good performance. This was probably the performance of the night on Saturday night. But I actually don't know. But I'd say Barry has an idea. What price is he to win it out right now, Barry?
When I checked there early this morning, there was no available prices. Just gonna look again, but he's definitely a favourite for me in my book anyway.
What do you make of it?
I listen. I understand what you're saying. Like, if you are going to be in a race where there's loads of early speed, probably on the outside isn't the place to be. Although, given his early speed, I think he'll lead up the vast majority of the dogs in the competition. And yeah, I think if they went a wrong price, I'd have no problem with getting involved. I wouldn't be backing him at 4 or 5 to 1. But
he's 6 to 1.
With sponsors Bar One Racing.
Yeah, I'd still be, I wouldn't be ruling out a couple of dogs we're going to get to now in a few moments. That's Carrick Aldo in the final heat. Second to him was Droopy's Rocker, who ran a blinder. Droopy's Rocker was on a lock team blanco for Johnny Linehan. Johnny certainly has a team to play a part in this year's Laurels, Tommy.
Johnny Hoyes is that type of team, to be honest. But I think anyway, he's an excellent trainer, and I think he places the greyhounds well. You say like he does. He runs a lot of them here and whatever, but he's never been afraid to travel for the right competition for the dog. So it always.
I would say that he tends to plot them out. Like, he doesn't just throw them in for the sake of throwing them in. He brings the dog to a competition where they have realistic claims.
Yeah, and I think even with Easy Razzlebitch, the right thing to do was go up to the Munster Oaks, and and she won it, great. And then you'll come here because he probably looked at and went, okay, the way she's breaking at the moment, she's probably not going to win the Laurels, but we can have a go at it. But it doesn't have to be the number one focus. Let's go and get a Munster Oaks and try to win that, where we have a really, really strong chance of winning it. She goes and wins it, and now she's entitled to a tilt at it. So, I think I'd have him down as a fellow who thinks a good bit about it, himself and the team think a good bit about it, and actually will go, not afraid to travel if it's the right thing to do by the greyhounds and to get the best out of them, because he always has good breeding. There's always good breeding in the greyhounds that Johnny has. They're always fast greyhounds, and he gets a lot out of them. So he'll have a say in it yet.
We never spoke to you, Barry, about Carrick Aldo. Very impressive, obviously enough. You've told us he's 6 to 1 for outright glory. I couldn't completely disagree with that, to be honest. There's just a real dash to him, isn't there?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think he's the ground they all have to beat now in the competition. And it was, great to see him, in the flesh there on Saturday night. David Murray, shrewd operator, clearly knows the time of day, very talented trainer. And I think this ground has it all. Obviously, the only slight concern for me would be if he, trap number 6 would be hard enough to win a Laurels from the outside. Swordrex came close last year from, a bad draw. And, he's got a similar profile, I suppose, to Brody's Magic back in 2020. And I think it was trap number 6 that beat him on that occasion as well. No, I think Carrick Aldo is the real deal. He stays the 5-2-5, no problem whatsoever. Clocking good sectionals coming home. And, if he can produce his best starts in the weeks ahead, I think he's very much the one they all have to beat.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point we should take out of that. That he's not stopping to the line, and that's a great sign for
Yeah.
a dog that's obviously been taken on the 400 yards around Dundalk. You need to be staying 5-2-5 anyway to get to really get to the line. And that certainly doing 2080 in Dundalk would suggest you're going to get the 5-2-5 yard trip pretty strongly, and no bother to him. There were some big runs outside those three. Let's go through them quickly. There was a 28-12 from Radical Hero, a dog who has danced plenty of dances. Like he tends to come up short, but I thought it was a fine run from him in Heat 7. It was the weakest of the heats, perhaps, or one of the weakest of the heats, but he did everything right at 3:32, led on the corner from Kilcolgan Zoo as it gone up fast, 16-11, 28-12. A nice run, Tommy. Whether he's going to win a Laurels or not, I don't know, but certainly he did nothing wrong in the opening round.
No, it was the weakest of the heats. Probably the weakest heat of the whole lot, but hard to crab it. I was a bit surprised when I saw the clock, but then
As was I, and I think that's the point. There were two or three clocks where I went, I'm surprised by that. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's not to take away from the Greyhound, but because he actually ran a cracking race. But yeah, look, his tests will be in coming weeks where it's much more difficult. Um, yeah, there wasn't depth in that one.
Barry, I'll let you talk about Halo. This is a dog who has been absolutely flying in recent times. They went for a touch on him in the opening round of the Derby, and he got picked up late by a subsequent Derby finalist, the Glideaway dog in the outside. And then he won the following week at 9-1. Very typically, he's been flying ever since then. Took off at Shelbourne Park on Derby final night 28-08 and carried that form. Didn't take a flyer the other evening, but showed great early speed, like proper early speed. Like he quickly got a length or two in his rivals, went on to win in 28-15. He's definitely a dog who could play a part in this Laurels.
Yeah, without a doubt. When he's good, he's very good. He was impressive, of course, on Derby final night, and the same can be said about Saturday night's performance. But he just can't throw in, an odd bad run. So like it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain that kind of form for the next 5 weeks. But as I said, when he's good, and definitely is a player, and a lot to like about that performance.
Yeah, I thought Rural Taylor ran well in defeat in second spot. He had shown loads of promise in the Rural Kennels unraced down at Clonmel earlier in the year and just hasn't quite happened for him since, but a big run by him in defeat. Tommy, anything to add there before we move on?
No, I thought that was yeah, I thought look, to be honest about it, I thought Halo was the best tonight. And after I fancied two dogs the night, Bonkers and Yonkers, who was beaten, and I decided, you know what, one bet will do me for the night. But I thought Halo and himself for the two bets tonight. Halo did it right. Bonkers and Yonkers just lacked the experience of the track.
Halo returned 5-4. Just want to point out, Carrick Fergie was third there. He's a dog
Mm.
that won the Open Unrace stake down at Kilkenny. It hasn't happened for him since then. He's got a series of terrible draws. Been in red hot company. Didn't happen from the other night. He's last at the opening corner, fifth off the second bend. He showed all sorts of pace in defeat. He flew down the back straight, stayed on well, but like he's going to have to show an awful lot more early, and he's going to need an inside draw. But he's just one to keep in your mind if the draw went right.
Yeah, and I agree because if you actually watch the race closely, as they're going to the bend, actually caught my eye as well the other night. As they're going to the bend, he's actually kind of almost running up the back of dogs because he missed it completely, but he's trying to make that progress into the bend. And you can see there's a good few more lengths into the bend that he can take out or he can shave off what he's done because he's actually running up the back of dogs and trying to find a way through. So, and he's on top of them at the escape. I think he's a smart dog too. Yeah.
Yeah, that competition has really it's worked out well. Obviously, two of them went to the latter stages of the Derby, Clonrusk, Sydney, and Seven Beach. The other dog, Droopy's Donut, is one of the stars in the Romford Puppy Cup at the moment. So it's working out well. And Carrick Fergie, of course, beat them in that final. As I've said, it just hasn't happened for him through various reasons, but there's no question there's a huge engine there. And he's owned by Thomas Glynn, who already has Carrick Aldo. So who's to say he doesn't have just one serious Laurels challenger? Is that the last of the sub 29 second or 28-20 runs? No, Glengar Martha. Tommy, back to you. 28-1 winner in the early rounds of the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby in Red Hot Company. Droopy's Beglin set a strong gallop the other night again for Johnny Lennon. He's some early speed in his kennel, but Glengar Martha was ultimately too close. She got up late to win in 28-13. Very pleasing performance. I suppose by the winner and the second, Droopy's Beglin keeps showing that early speed. He'll be one you want to be avoiding.
Not very pleasing for the runner up if you're one of the people who backed it into odds on favoritism at 4-5. You just a bit you could count yourself a bit unlucky. Like Barry and I were chatting about this the other day on Saturday night after the race. Like Glengar Marta's taken on every good dog in the country. You know, that's the kind of level she's been in. So actually, overall, this is probably a slight ease for her. That just this heat, I'm not talking about Drubby's Beglam, but just the heat, the actual whole heat, probably a slight ease for her, just that she was in against a kind of a few that she would be expected to be superior to. And Drubby's Beglam was obviously an unknown with an improving Greyhound. So she actually ran a superb race because he did absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, he popped off the front and did 28-20, but just got picked up by a really powerful bitch.
I suppose he was backed into odds on favourite on the strength of his latest draw or his
Yeah.
latest trial. Like he had some good form around Curraheen, but the fact that he stumbled the traps into 28-20 in his previous trial would suggest that he was going to take some beating. But they just ran into one, like they're beating the length, as you say, 28-20, nothing wrong with it. Barry, was there much talk about Drubby's Beglan on the ground?
Yeah, definitely well fancied. They were shouting in the stands as he went down the back straight. So he's a ground that often, carries plenty of support.
Yeah, that's always too early. The only place to shout is a yard from the line.
Yeah, no, they're always very vocal in fairness. And, we love to see that. It really adds to the atmosphere and excitement. And I thought he lost very little in defeat. In fairness, if he's going to be producing, fast starts like he can in the Laurels, he's certainly going to play a part. But, Glengar Marta was just on the premises early and that proved too strong in the closing stages. And, another performance of the highest order.
Yeah, Pat Buckley, he really gets a tune out of his ladies. Moving on, let's go back and we start from the start, and we'll get to all the heats we missed out on. The opening heat went to Bogger Rambo, Liam Peacock, Tommy. We've alluded to a few times over the last few months that he doesn't have an awful lot of dogs, but when he does have them, he can get them to produce. This is not the first time he's had one to produce in the last year and a half. Bogger Rambo, 1608 off at 333, 28-28. That'll do. I thought Clona Rocco ran well in defeat in second.
He did. This was perfect. The first two races actually is funny, even though Trap One got beaten in the second race. This is perfect Trap One running by Bogger. But he hardly left the rails the whole way. Was actually maybe slightly headed going into the bend, but just used the inside rail well and ran a cracking race. Clona Rocco ran well too. I actually thought Clona Rocco might pick him up from the third bend home. I think I said to somebody on the stand while I was watching the race, but I like the attitude of the winner. I thought he picked up again, and also in the second race, actually, Ballymun Boy was picked up late. Have a look at that if you ever want to know the advantage of having Trap One inside in Curraheen Park. Just have a look at that race and see where Ballymun Boy is 10 yards before the first bend and where he is coming out of it.
Yeah,
and that's how you track.
Yeah, go ahead. Bogger Rambo, Barry, 3-1. I'd say one or two were on. I'd say Clona Rocco obviously attracted some support, but I noticed Fate Point Jet was the even money favourite. He has loads of pace, this dog. He made his debut as Toffee Man down in Enniscorthy, caught the eye, the same sort of unraced stake that Glengar Marta was in, and a couple of other very nice types. I wouldn't be just giving up on him just yet.
No, definitely. Look, I think he'll have to get off to better starts if he's going to keep progressing. But certainly a very, very talented sort. And if you're a supporter of Trap Number One, I don't think the outcome was ever in any real doubt. Once it went around the opening turns in front, and it was a polished performance, and it transferred its good form around the likes of Clonmel and other places to Cork on Saturday night. And no doubt Connections will be hoping for an inside draw going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. If they could paint the red jacket on, they probably would. Tommy, you alluded to with Ballymun Boy, his opening med maneuver, like he's not an inch off the fence, and Boyle Sports Gift takes a flyer. I'll admit, I was flicking around a bark and buzz, and I saw Boyle Sport Gift at 12-1 the tote. I went, I'll have a fiver on that. And yeah, when he flashed out, I went lovely. And then he's headed by Ballymun Boy, but you knew he was always going to come again with a rattle. He got up to lead late, but Ballymun Boy ran a remarkable opening bend. Obviously, he's only 16:34 to the third bend. It's won in 28:46, so it's won in a time which allows Boyle Sports Gift to come from. I think he was fourth down the back straight after leading to the opening corner. But no, a remarkable run from Boyle Sports Gift to get up. But Ballymun Boy, as you said, Trap One is clearly where he wants to be.
Yeah, look, I don't think you're going to be able to make Boyle Sports Gift break anymore. He just doesn't seem to do it. He has it in his past, an ability to break, but his recent runs have just been, even in Cork, just been missing the kick. He's been back in Shelbourne and Limerick, missed the kick. He must be a frustrating one for Connections because there's loads of ability there. So it's just nice to see him pop out. Yes, he did lose his position. I actually thought, it's funny, I thought of you when I saw the result of that race. I thought, when I think Barry came in and said to me that winner was, somebody said to me the other night, 6-1. I thought of you straight away, saying you'd have been back in that, thinking that was a bit big. That's the type of
Yeah.
greyhound you would love to back, isn't
Absolutely love that. I
it? Yeah,
love that. Like you give me, yeah, listen, I leave an even money chance every day of the week. Forget about that.
yeah, yeah.
So 6 to 1, yeah, that's my bag. Do you know what I did? I did strike at Alice to be second in the trio to behind Boyle Sports, and she walked out. She never got involved because I was expecting her to come with a rattle. She just never got involved. Yeah, in the end, she's only beaten what she beaten. She beaten less than 4 legs. You know what I mean? That's how tight the racing was. I must point out, thought the racing was very, very clean the other evening. For all that it's a speed test and there's 3 or 4 dogs driving into the corner in some races, I thought it was pretty clean. Like obviously there was 1 or 2 dogs got bumps and bars, and there was one in particular, Mendelssohn ran completely off the corner and just left the 6 dog with no chance. But absolutely every dog finished. It was so clean, great to see.
Here, here.
On to the third heat, and this was won by Groucho's Vic. Barry, this was a nice display. He's a relatively young dog. He's a dog I saw in Shelbourne, having coming out of Kilkenny. He got beaten in his first race in Shelbourne, came back the following week and led early to win in 28:44. They brought him down to Cork last week and didn't quite get home. The other evening, though, he did get home. He took it up into the third bend, went on to hold Ballymac Ramey, who had led off the opening corner and was coming back at him. Groucho's Vic, he's going to need to improve considerably. He's going to be considered to be a Laurels challenger, but I thought it was a fine performance by a young enough greyhound.
Yeah, definitely. His ground on the up. It was a kind of a messy enough event, shorter run there once or twice, but really pulled out all the stops in the closing stages. I think he'll go much quicker in the coming weeks, and certainly ground with a very bright future.
Tommy alluded to Bonkers and Yonkers earlier on. He did show pace down at the third bend, but he's going to need to be sharper early, Barry.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he came in for strong market support, just didn't do it right early, but I thought he showed loads of pace down into the third corner, and wouldn't rule him out now next week.
And the top, who was only just narrowly beaten for Paul Dowd as well. This fellow, he's a January, or she is a January 22. Lots to like about it. Bit of improvement, who knows?
Yeah, without a doubt. It was running, I think, in an A6 event there recently, so significant progress over the course of the last couple of weeks, and done really well to be in the mix there.
Yeah, we'll move on. Bouncing Lad, Tommy. This was a hot contest. This saw the defeat of Swords Rex, who got squeezed a little bit in the early yards. He's a close third into the opening corner. He shows pace down the back. He's forced to check at the third bend. It was the type of run, while I know he ran a week earlier and ran well to win in 28:17, it looked like he was still blowing away some cobwebs. I'm sure there's much better to come from. We know he's a much more natural starter. Burgess Supreme and Bouncing Lad had it between themselves up front. There was never much separating the pair, but Bouncing Lad in the end just got the better of the argument. 16:21 to the third bend off a 3:26 sectional, 28:45. The clocks aren't sensational, but I thought it was a good run by the Pat O'Connell trained Bouncing Lad.
Yeah, it was a good run. The top dog actually, Burgess Supreme ran a cracking race to kind of hold the line the whole way. A typical inside runner for Curraheen Park ran it and actually denied Sword Rex on a number of occasions. Sword Rex is a bit unlucky, and I think there might have been a small bit of an issue. Barry might know more about that. But Bouncing Lad was game on the outside. Didn't let Burgess Supreme get away. Burgess Supreme is no mug, as we know. But like
this was the first 5-5 of Burgess Supreme since he won the Produce Stakes. So it was a fine 4 bend comeback, shall we say?
I think I'm entitled to improve forward, and I thought the tracking ability, and actually, the tracking in Clonmel was key as well, actually, for Birds Supreme. So I thought this is an encouraging one from the runner up, but a Balancing Lad now was very game. Swords Rex look the best dog in the race. Obviously, I mean he's one of the best we've seen for a few years. Doesn't always go right for him. I think there might have been a small issue. Was there, right?
Yeah, I think there was. I think a small issue maybe with a web after the race. So hopefully, they'll have him back for next week. But definitely a slight concern there.
A split web or something like that, maybe a spike or something at some point in the contest. But yeah, Swords Rex remains there. The bookmakers won't be taking any chances. I'm sure he's still pretty prominent in the betting there, Barry. You got a glimpse of the Bar One Racing market. I assume he's close up behind Carrick-Aldo or even nearly beside him.
6-1 joint favourites.
6-1 joint favourites. That's no surprise to anyone. You wouldn't have been too discouraged, Barry, anyway, with Swords Rex. I'm sure you wouldn't be throwing away your tickets just yet.
No, definitely not. Look, it just didn't happen for him really on Saturday night. But look, we all know how good he is, and I'm sure he'll bounce back to top form in the coming weeks. Bouncing Lad was a popular winner. They brought a big crowd there. A couple of former Cork curling stars involved there, Ben and Jerry O'Connor. So they got,
wouldn't it be lovely to see the Cork hurlers having a little bit of success these days? So that'd be really nice for them, wouldn't it?
Without, and they brought a big crowd. So there's another one we'll be hoping that'll stay in the competition, because it's great to see big crowds coming supporting the dogs.
He wasn't biting, Tommy. He wasn't biting.
No, he's from Water. Don't mind him.
I love me county. Right, moving on. We've spoken of Radical Hero, and we haven't spoken of High Trend. Tommy, we'll start with you. High Trend, fast away, always led. I thought if he was going to do that, I would expect him to do better in 28:37. Obviously, he hasn't been around Cork in a while. I'm sure he'll improve for the run. Did everything right. 16:24, 3:30. I would have expected faster to the third bend, and I would expect it faster on the winning line. But he's a nice greyhound, and if he keeps getting trap one and keeps repeating that start, he'll be okay.
He will, and he'll improve for it. But again, it was a good bit of tracking. Yet again, using the line very well. Of course, the story of that is Ballymacmarino, and trying to figure out where Ballymacmarino might stand at the moment. I'm not sure.
He's just not where he was. He's not far off it, and it may still come, but he's just not quite the greyhound he once was.
Yeah, I don't mind that in a way. And what I mean by that is, I don't fancy him at all for this competition, and that's not to say he won't win it. He might, but I didn't think that this is his track. But I don't mind that he's a little bit below at the moment. Rather that than be absolute peak and not be a greyhound for next year. I still think he's a proper prospect. And I'm looking forward to him, when he's back at his very, very best. I just don't know this, can he get back to his best for this competition? I doubt it, but I wouldn't like to underestimate Liam Dowling, to be quite honest about it.
Yeah, no. Listen, I hear you. I think we're both holding to such a high standard. That's the issue. We were both so pleased and taken by him around Tralee, and he's shown exceptional form on a couple of occasions since, and he's been around. Like, he's been Toaster, he's been to Shelbourne, he's been. Did he go? No, they skipped Limerick with him, didn't they? Skip the Kirby, and here he is now at Curraheen. He's obviously taking on the very best of company all the time. But I just love to see him produce another sort of statement-like performance, just to sort of re-establish himself.
If 6 big early pacers got to the, he was among 6 or 5 other big early pacers going to the final, the Laurels. Would you fancy him? I don't think I would.
No, you'd be hoping that he'd be drawn on the fence and that he could avoid traffic maybe on the corner. That's what you'd be your best hope in that scenario.
The reason I'm being picky at that is he's 4th favourite. That's why. Just trying to say, you know what I mean. Just kind of, I think he's 11-1 with the sponsors. I just wouldn't be in a rush at that price.
Yeah, that's not really allowing for the track, I suppose. That's allowing just for sort of past form rather than anything else. I understand where you're coming from, Tommy. I think I'd be wanting nearly double that price. High Trend, Barry ran very well, as Tommy alluded to. There's probably better to come from him. He has some fine 400-yard form. Ran very well at Shelbourne last time out off a 2:05. 16:24 is okay. The 3:30 is okay. I'm sure he can do better for both.
Yeah, definitely. Very good performance, I suppose. And, it was probably a good opportunity when Ballymacmarino kind of underperformed. And, he has significant improvement to make if he's going to go on, win this competition. But yeah, it was all about High Trend. Milleridge Zara ran well in the competition as well, of course. Don Lomani has some, good dogs in the competition.
Barry's left us. Barry has left the building.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. We'll take up that point there. Don Lamani had Milleridge Zara in second spot. Tommy, she ran well in defeat, and that brings us straight along to the next heat we're going to take a look at, because it was won by Milleridge Levy, should I say? This is the dog who's been huge prices in Shelbourne Park in recent weeks. A couple of nights I had a little nibbles, because it's running an awful lot better than its prices suggest it should. I just think it's one of those dogs that's just not, what's the term? It doesn't have the reputation. It's not sort of as it's not as fashionable as some. But nothing wrong the other evening. I was sort of sick. I didn't back it. Peroni is the dog with fine form around Curraheen, and he set a strong gallop on the inside and led off the opening corner to the line where Milleridge Levy got up to land the spoils for Don Lamani. 16-16, 28-28. Nothing wrong with that.
Did somebody tell you it's Levy?
I don't know. I've heard people referring to it as Levy and Levy. I've been calling it Levy, as in took the
Levi.
Chevy to the Levy, but I think that's Levee, isn't it?
E-
Levi.
yeah, I'd have a Levi. It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
Either.
Right.
I just thought this. No, this is the race. This was an interesting race. Barry will talk about this in a minute. This was the pound, shillings, and pence race.
This is Peroni
They
only.
went
People
for
people
they
emptied out
went
in
for
Peroni.
bombs. They bombed on Peroni only. They absolutely, and again, probably a bit unlucky. Actually, I think Barry might as well, and I had a small bet in the tote on the winner. Just on past form, he had real form in the book. It was just taking a chance. He was a big price. He was 6-1 outside as well. I didn't back that now. But Ballymac is just not in the same form at the moment. So I was kind of ruling her out, and she wasn't going to get in the way of Milridge Levi. Um, yeah, it's Peroni only. I mean, again, you're a bit unlucky. You're beating a short head doing 28-29. Um, it was a good night for the bookies.
Yeah, 28, 28. You're doing 28, 29 off the front. You're thinking, lovely. We're collecting here. Milridge Levy, Levi, should I say. I suppose they were a touch unlucky, those that punted Peronioni, because Mendelssohn goes up alongside Peronioni and then just takes a bump and just keeps going right turn Clive. Absolutely takes Corbrack Prince out of it. Like how Milridge Levy or Levi, oh, that's going to be an ongoing situation. How that didn't get sort of any sort of traffic as well is beyond me, but slips around a lovely second spot. And thereafter, Barry, those that had their sockets on Peroni sort of were a little bit worried.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say it was a painful watch if you were one of those supporters. I always kind of felt going down the back straight that the winner was going to get the better of the argument, but it was just in the final stride that it got up. And look, obviously everyone is familiar with Miller's Leave. At this stage, of course, because it was a quarter finalist in the recent Irish Greyhound Derby. And I thought it was the one dog actually prior to the competition that was a complete wrong price. I was speaking to Donald actually after the race the other night, and he took a bit of the 100-1. So I wouldn't be surprised if this dog went on to make the final. He's a player for me.
Yeah, he was 40-1 in the consolation final. He's beaten only 2 lengths in 29.42 behind Trinity Junior. It's a hell of a run, and for him to be 6-1 in a contest where, like, don't get me wrong, they're decent types. They're real speedy types, but like, there's nothing there the likes of Trinity Junior or Coulivanny Hoffa was in that race. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those situations where it's easy to speak in hindsight, but yeah, Milridge Levi, surely the 6-1 was way too big. As Tommy has already said to when he blew his trumpet. We spoke about heats 11 and
Hold on a
heat
second.
12. What? What?
No, it's grand. Work
What?
away.
Barry, Tommy's put away his trumpet for the minute. Overall thoughts? A cracking Laurels, very competitive racing expected over the next few weeks.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, it really was, fantastic night. Plenty of top class performances throughout the 12 heats. Big runs and huge crowd in attendance. Atmosphere was fantastic. Upstairs restaurant was as busy as I've seen for a long time. It really was, a night to remember, and very much looking forward to the next couple of weeks of top class racing action. It's it's our time of the year now, so very very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a great couple of weeks.
Yeah, 14th of October is the final, Tommy. What are we expecting before then? What are you expecting to be there at that night?
In terms of Greyhounds, I haven't a clue, but I tell you, I think I've spotted a winner for next week. I probably shouldn't say it, but there's no point coming on and pretending. Then, do you know who caught my eye the other day and finishing fourth? And I was watching the race closely to the end, saying, "Please qualify, please qualify." Rat down Molly.
Yeah,
She was
she
in.
walked out.
She was in. She was in a desperately tough heat with a really tricky draw. She didn't walk out. She broke well, but just edged maybe slightly right. There was a bit of a bump early. She was in all sorts of trouble, and I was thinking, God Almighty, just qualify because the potential was there. Met Skippy on Saturday night. Was chatting to him beforehand, just wishing him luck. And he said, "Look, I just hope she qualifies because I hadn't brought her down to be around the track or whatever." Like, and actually ran a lot better than being beaten 7.5 lengths. Looks, he's won by Carrick Aldo. I would, if there happened to be a mistake, let's just say, in the prices of the heats for next week, if somebody decides, and I think the sponsor might just have a feeling because they're without knowing too much about Barney O'Hare and Bar One, they seem to be quite proactive, and I like that.
Well, even the
And
fact that here we are on a Monday morning and price is already up You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That bodes well.
it does. And actually, do you know what? We should make a point too, and because it was a bit not great, let's just say. And they priced up. They priced each way, quarterly odds, 6 places. A couple of firms priced up originally at 4 places. 72 runners at 4 places on the each way market. I mean, that's taking the mick out of Greyhound people.
Yeah. I think one of those firms in particular spotted their mistake and rectified that. But I do believe there were a few out there. I have a feeling that there was a bit of copying going on, and that's how that
Yes.
happened. Which is, we know it's rife. It's wonderful to see the sponsors putting up their prices first, and if they make mistakes, they make mistakes. You know what I mean? And that's what we want. We
I
want them
think
all. We want all firms to price up independently and see how it falls.
independently and give you some degree of a chance. But look at, I think I would imagine, and I don't know again, I don't know the setup, personally around that, but I would suspect for the likes of this, bar one wouldn't mind if they had little bit of a loss leader here and lost a couple of small few quid on it, if it generated some business and some returning customers and the like. So no, they probably won't lose on it. Let's be honest, it was a good start to proceedings and all that sort of stuff, and it looks wide open at the moment. Sword Rex actually was 9-2 or 4-9-2. I think they were going to six places originally when the other firms were going 4, and they were trying to push out to be top price, but they kept getting, obviously with plenty of support for Sword Rex, and he was cut. He was 9-2. He's now 6-1. So
Yeah.
that'll tell you where it is after one round.
I just want to mention Heat 4. Halo and Carrigaldo, both the 28-15 winners, both 335 and 334. It's just a nice clash. It's one to look forward to.
Actually, can't see where are the heats in. I couldn't see them up there.
Upcoming cards. Saturday 23rd,
Yeah.
Curraheen Park.
A few minutes ago they weren't there. Actually, I looked from about 20 minutes ago, half an hour.
Oh, well, they obviously know we're recording now. They stuck it up, Tommy. They're
they
very
do,
good
yeah.
like that. They're very good like that.
Good knock here, Lace.
Rafta Molly's in trap 2 in the opening heat. She's bonkers and yonkers
Look
on her
at
inside,
that.
and Ballymacmarina won her outside in 3.
She has no chance, lads. None.
6-1. 6-1.
Bonkers and
Barry,
Yonkers. He's got a fly, Barry, isn't he? Look at
uh,
Ballymacmarina. Look, this track is made for him.
Rural Taylor did 28-22 last week. He's the fastest of them in the heat. Barry, what wins the
That has to
Laurels?
be favourite.
Barry, what wins the Laurels?
Carrigaldo for me.
Tommy.
No clue. Absolutely no idea. Yeah, none.
Yeah, I'll stick with Carrigaldo as well. It's a bit early to call.
There's
a lot of water to go under the bridge in the coming weeks.
I would love if Carrigaldo just proved to be an absolutely sensational 5-2-5 dog. I don't care if he ever gets 550 or the Derby trip 575. He will keep beating that drum in. But if he became a sensational 5-2-5 dog, because he has that potential. I loved the performance the other night, only for the fact that it was that he did lots of things wrong, and obviously he won't be able to do lots of things wrong and win the Laurels. And it's going to be difficult with a middle seed on him and all that sort of crack. But like, if he just turned out to start breaking like he did in the final of in Dundalk and became a sensational 5-5 yard dog, wouldn't that be brilliant?
If he does start like he did in Dundalk some night, he'll do 27.85 around there, and they won't see which way he goes. Yeah,
he'll do 27.80, no problem. It'll just be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see this, and this will tell us the limitations of the dog quite quickly. If he flies out next week, and his sectional from the third bend home will tell us if he's able to break and sustain it all the way to the line. I suspect from what I saw the other night he is.
Yeah.
But I just like a little bit more evidence before I back him.
Yeah, I hope R1 Racing aren't watching this. He'll be 4-1 before the end of the morning or before tomorrow morning. Let's move on. Barry, we'll let you talk about the Bartley Heath Stakes started on the Friday evening. Always, obviously it's only in its infancy, due to the fact that Bart only passed away a couple of years ago. A great friend to all in greyhound racing, but in particular down, in his native Cork. And it was a good start to competition the other night. It's a graded competition, and while the times suggest it's going to be a graded competition going ahead, you still wouldn't be surprised if one or two of them improved greatly. Fastest on the board was the Etienne dog for Paul Hennessy. I know they think a fair bit of this fella.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's a fantastic addition, I suppose, to the race in Canada and Cork, and 10,000 euros to the winner, and a great way to remember Bart. Of course, he was such a popular character and a big part of the Johnny relation. And as you said, yeah, JT Etienne was the standout performer, making the most of the inside draw to win in 28-47. Plenty of, good performances, but it looks a wide open competition, and it'll certainly take some winning over the next couple of weeks.
It does move to Saturday nights, I'm sure, sooner rather than later. As soon as the Laurels sort of allows that it moves to Saturday, it's going to move to Saturday. Am I right?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah, that will be the case. So it's on again on Friday night. So look, it's another bumper weekend of Greyhound racing action in Cork with two brilliant nights to look forward to.
And the final coincides with the Laurels final night, I'm assuming, also.
That's right. Yeah, same as last year. So it's going to be an unbelievable night.
An exciting time at Curraheen, I'm sure, at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Look, everyone is buzzing around there. They were actually racing. They had an additional meeting as well there. Last Thursday night, there was a nice performance there from a Graham Holland trained youngster, Faye Point. Sean, I think his name is, in the competition. That was the Finn Memorial race, and unbeaten there over the course of the last 4 weeks. Graham had two in the final. There was one non-runner, not sure if he's sold or anything. He's up for sale there on Greyhound data, but it really was three brilliant nights there in Cork last week. So yeah, we'll hope to build on that now in the coming weeks.
Faith Point Sean remains unbeaten after 4 starts. He's had a roaming Shari. Am I right in saying that there wasn't a really good roaming dog earlier in the year? Is this the same family?
Yeah,
she goes back to New Inn Boodles, who happens to be a sister half sister, to New Inn Taylor. So the pedigree is there.
Yeah, definitely. There's an absolute monster of a greyhound in that litter. I think his name is Roaming Turbo. He's trained by Kieran Lynch, and unfortunately, they're just picking up little injuries here and there, and couldn't get him right for the Laurels. And he was one of the most exciting young talents I'd seen in Cork for a good number of years. So look, hopefully we'll see him back in the track soon. But yeah, very, very talented greyhound, that Roaming Turbo.
Yeah, I think I highlighted him in the Racing Post at the start of the year as my dog to follow. And yeah, that's what they call putting the mockers on him. He hasn't raced since. Sorry about that. Jesus. Everyone that's connected with the dog. Let's move on.
My next dog is going to be called After Time Mean.
Or not, polish your trumpet. No. Moving on, the semi-finals of the Cambridgeshire took place at Limerick on Saturday night. Obviously we had a track record breaking display in the opening round from 365. On this occasion she completely missed the kick and actually ran an absolute booler to be third behind Kinturk Road, a dog that Tommy continues to sort of denigrate, but Kinturk Road did everything right out front to win in 41.60, the Corncucullen winner, holding off McNeil by a neck in 365, only a length back in third spot. I dare say she'd have probably gone close enough to her own record if she'd hit the lids. She got badly done in the opening corner after a missed start, and there's so much better to come from her. And the other heat went to Hookham in 41.29. I'm just trying not to let Tommy back in at this point. Beach Babe is back in second, 10 lengths second, and Lysadora, who wants 2.5 laps of the circuit. She is a sister to none other Ballymac Katie, Ballymac Taylor, Garfinney Blaze, Haka Carlo, and all them. And this one has even less early speed. She's all about stamina. She wants, as I said, 2.5 laps. She wants 1,000 yards minimum, and she was third, denying the bowl. Freddie, good competition. Tommy, anything to add?
Kinturk Road just likes to keep it interesting, keep them all interested a little bit. Kinturk Road doesn't know what impressive means. Kinturk Road just likes to say, I get the job done. Don't worry about it. You mightn't enjoy watching it, but I get it done.
It was like
Jose, dog you'd love to
like Jose Mourinho's Chelsea a few years ago. A load of 1-0 victories. Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly it. Kinturk Road it's what a smashing dog, because just gets the job done. But I've the times I backed the Greyhound, I was worried all the way through. And if I backed the other night, I'd be thinking going to the line, oh my God, I'm beaten here. No, I still got the job done in Nick.
That's fair enough. There's a valuable prize on offer at Kilkenny this weekend coming, because the final of the JAG Building Services and KGOBA Derby is the highlight on Friday night. The two semi-finals were won by Bogger Dusty, Tommy, our man again, Liam Peacock, getting the job done, getting loose early, taking a bump on the bend, but going on to win in 28.85. Always a good spin around Kilkenny, beating Kilcolgan Comet and Stories Fuse. Stories Fuse, of course, representing the sponsor, Gavin O'Mahony. Great to see Gavin winning one of these competitions. He's been a great sponsor over the last 2 to 3 years. He has some really nice dogs about him, always does. A great supporter of the game. And the other heat was won by the Black Swallow, who had been the standard setter in the previous round, beating Delirium Tremens, and Clara Roberto, who has massive early speed, but just cannot quite get home. Maybe in the final, who knows? But it's a good final. We look forward to seeing the result of that on Friday night. A couple of other things to mention. At Lifford, they had the Bar 1 Racing Gold Crystal Vase Sprint semi-finals or second round. Gizmo Cash set a new track record, 17-17. He is, of course, the reigning sprinter of the year. What a star he's been for them for quite some time. And the Casco Stake got underway at the weekend. Also, Barry Vis-a-Vis did 28.94, the fastest time. Do you cover Turles, or is it Peter?
No, Farrell, yeah.
Peter. Right, I won't hang you out to dry then. Vis-a-Vis, a good winner in 28.94, trained by Dave Burke. Always worthwhile keeping your eye on that Casco Stake. It's not worth huge money, but always good dogs come out of it. And another dog I want to mention, I want to mention the 2 semi-finals of the Mustang Jet at Stud Open Unraced Bitch Stake at Shelbourne Park, which happened on Thursday night. The first heat was won by a bitch called Cute Intention. She looks very talented for Robert Gleeson. She's well bred. She's out as old a princess. But the other heat winner was Fashion Model, and she happens to be a daughter of Good News, a Derby winner, and Coulivanny Chick, a English Derby finalist. And when I say I was taken by this, I was blown away by it. She was last into the opening corner after missing the start. She showed unbelievable pace down into the third bend, and she rattled home to win in 28.54, picking up a bitch, Lincoln Legacy, who had posted 28.38 in qualifying. This is a serious prospect, Fashion Model. I've been told she's not for sale. She's owned by Paul Harrig and Stephen Burke, and I've been told she's also probably going to be making the move to Pat Guilfoyle. She won't get any worse for that move, Tommy.
Oh, she definitely won't. I actually didn't see it. I must watch it now. You have me thinking this might be smart.
Yeah, it's well worth the watch now. It was unbelievable. Like she caught me off guard. There was 3 very well bred types in front of her, and you'd sort of just forget. You was calling the first 3 down the back straight and forgotten about the rest of them. And she just appeared at the third bench. She's like on their heels, and I'm going, where did this come from? And she wins a length in 28.52. I said 28.54. Yeah, good news out of Coulivanny Chick. I text the breeder next morning, Noel Hare. I said, I hope you have one as fast at home. And he says, fingers crossed. He says, I think we have a decent one. But he is another litter by Coulivanny Chick. Just an unbelievable pedigree. Coulivanny Chick, obviously a sister to Unlock. I think it's safe to say it's a good family.
Yeah, it's safe to say you want deep pockets to buy into it now.
Yeah, at this stage you certainly would. Anything else you want to touch on, lads, before we move across the pond?
No.
Do we do Juvenile Derby yet now?
Oh, God almighty. Oh, that makes me sound like such an amateur. We forgot about the Juvenile Derby. Let's get into it. Right, let's get into it. The Juvenile Derby. I had it open here ready to go, and yeah, lost my train of thought. Let's get into it. Obviously the Laddie Da had set a sensational pace in the previous round, Tommy, but he was to go out. So often happens, a dog does a huge run, and then the following week just cannot quite back it up. 27.78 last week. An awful draw on trap 6, and he probably would have been fine if he'd been drawn close to the fence. Missed the kick, found traffic, never really got going, and he crashes out.
Yeah, what a shame. For it's just watch the race. He broke, not great, obviously, and that had been that's been in his armory now. That has been, that kind of just not. We've talked about it before. He's not yet a natural breaker, and he can develop it.
And the fact that you throw him into an alien box, a box he's never raced from before on the outside, it's a different scenario.
It's a different scenario. Like he was after doing a lot of, he did some huge running in the previous rounds, coming from behind really fast, coming from 4th at one stage, coming from behind, should be flight line last week. I just did it leave a mark. I'm not so sure. I think that he actually had to work hard. He actually, when he broke in 6, and this was the problem. If he didn't trap 1 the right, and he broke the exact same way, he'd have qualified. But he actually checked across the dog, maybe 5. He just checked in behind us early, and that lost momentum. And then he's trying to gather his ground again into the bend, and you're looking at the standard as we get through the competition. The standard is obviously getting higher. It's deep. They're deeper races. Well, look, what do I think about it? I'm disappointed. Disappointed for connections, disappointed for the dog, disappointed for people who'll be watching the competition. But no concerns about the Greyhound in the future. I'm not going to say, oh, he's the type of dog that can do silly things like that. No, no. I mean, this is a huge ask for a pup out and trap six in a red hot competition. You're not afforded any tiny mistake, and it just didn't happen for him. He still has tons of ability. He's still a machine, and hopefully we'll see the best of it next year.
Yeah, let's get to the heat winners. I still think if I was asked what dog in training would you like, it'd be probably the Laddie Da. But I'll tell you one thing: there's one or two dogs in this competition that are really make me question that as well, because it's a hell of a juvenile derby. It's turned into a real one. Let's go with the fastest heat winner, Balnakill Alf. Tommy, somebody likened him to. Do you remember Gilby Hall Josh? A dog that ran, oh God, it must be 20, 25 years ago at this stage. Yeah,
Christ.
he was one of these dogs who had just the most unbelievable pace to the third bend, often would leave a yard or two at boxes and then just race past dogs. Well, Balnakill Alf is more professional at boxes, but the other night missed the kick somewhat. He showed devastating early speed, Tommy. I think it was stunning what he did to the third bend. He does 15.73 since they introduced the third bend clock at Shelbourne Park. I think that's either second or third fastest ever. There was a 15.68 from Droopy's Ultimatum a couple of years back, but 15.73 off that start is breathtaking.
Um, was there something different about his performance the other night? When he came out of traps, he kind of went slightly right. I was concerned, actually. Maybe I haven't a clue. I'm probably not. I was actually concerned that Glengar Elvis might break and they might bump, and Balnakill Alf was trying to get across. He actually came out slightly right, if anything, and showed lovely pace. And the maturity of the run was in going to the bend, where he didn't dive across. He moved across when he had a bit of space. I mean, this like generally, I think when they take a step to the right, out of traps, they're just hunting mad. Like they're really enjoying what they're doing, and they're intent on getting to the lure. So, this was a step forward again, in my opinion, and I liked it. I mean,
Yeah.
he was twos on, right, and I think I was just
He was twos
maybe I
on
was putting
because of weight of cash. He was 4 to 5 and 4 to 6, and the money
right.
came from him. Yeah, the money came from him.
Wow. Okay, at 4 to 5, I might have been tempted twos on. I was happy enough to
Mm.
leave it alone. But I just thought he was an absolute penalty kick had he been drawn in three. And Glengar Elvis, who's not a massive early pacer, but he has shown decent early pacer, or certainly a decent breaking ability, and had this type of sections there that wouldn't have afforded Balnakill Alf any little mistake early. This was a different type of performance, I think. I really do. I
Yeah.
thought I had him down as going in and across and doing things, potentially doing things wrong. If he continues to learn the way he's learning, he's going to be a I know you're saying that stamina might be. I think he's going to be developing into a derby dog.
Yeah. Yeah, he has unbelievable pace, no question about it. Barry, hard not to be taken by him. He's a brother to Jack Tavern Bolt, owned by the aforementioned Pillar Syndicate. But this is their star. Like this is their dog for next year. Hard not to be taken by him. I would love to see him around Cork. I really would. And it's almost a shame that he can't do both. But here he is in the Juvenile Derby, and he's perhaps the dog to beat.
Without a doubt, yeah. Balnakill Elf and Jack Tavern, both, of course, both were bought out of the Adam Dunford kennels. And, what he done, I thought, last week from trap number 5, to get around the bend in front was incredible. And he was just as good again on Saturday night, 28-10. He's just a phenomenal talent, and one of the most exciting young talents in the sport. Droopy Zelda, I thought, ran well in second. Of course, the form of the Dennis Lillian solicitors on race day couldn't be working out any better. We'll touch on Droopy's flight line shortly, no doubt. You also have Jatara, of course, who went on to deliver big performances. Dale Road Duke, of course, 28-01. They were just 4 of the finalists there recently, so it's always great to see that form working out well. Stone Park Sid, of course, would be a half brother to Germana Bucco. He's a very, very fast greyhound, just not getting away. He was bred by Eamon Uniac there down our neck of the woods, so he's another talented horse. So there was a lot of good pace in that race, but it was all about Balnakill Alf in the end.
Yeah, Tommy, you suggested Droopy Zelda is definitely advancing. She's coming on each week, and she went again faster the other night, 28-24 on the feet. If Balnakill Alf isn't in it, she emerges a very good winner in a hot contest. She's certainly one to keep an eye on, but just in terms of Balnakill Alf, she just couldn't live with him early.
Yeah, not many will.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be remarkable were the little brothers to win a juvenile derby on Laurels in the space of a couple of weeks, like.
Yeah. And like after Comrades have been in the news recently with Born Warrior and the other Kobe, for the two of them to go like deep into these competitions be remarkable again. Let's move back to the opening heat, which was a red hot contest in terms of certainly on paper looked a red hot contest. Droopy's Flightline was installed a hot favourite, and I actually went for Highview Splash prior to the race and sort of realised that sort of later days going, well, Flightline would probably be favourite, just given the fact that he has the early speed and is on the inside of his two rivals. But I was so taken by Highview Splash, I just couldn't sort of, abandon him after his brilliant performance last week. But he's only 5 spots faster than Droopy's Flightline in the previous round. And on this occasion, Droopy's Flightline was only the 3 spots faster because he did get to the front early, showed great determination to the bend when Splash and Mandolin bumped on the opening corner. He increased his lead to 2 lengths, held that comfortably down the back straight, but then Highview Splash started to close on him half length to the finish. Two very, very talented greyhounds. This Droopy's Flightline, Tommy, there is so much to like about him. He really does have a wonderful turn of early speed. It'll really be put to the test when he comes up against Balnakill Alf, but there's no question he's a very, very talented greyhound.
Well, this sort of early pace wasn't obvious in Cork, even though he led 3 of the 4 heats in the Dennis Linen. It wasn't as obvious. He looked like he dog that maybe you're saying, okay, he's decent early pace, but really he's doing it. He's strong enough down the back, and that's where he's winning his races and whatever. But now he definitely has developed that early pace. I mean, even the other night after missing the kick slightly, I mean, the Highview Splash dog broke nicely in front of him. There were actually probably 5 was probably in front of him as well, and just showed an electric turn of pace and to clear the two on his inside easily and to hold Highview Splash into the bend and then go on. Slightly, even though he obviously had 1 out of 3 times, just slightly moves off a little bit. Does he at the second bend? Is that just me imagining it? He kind of gives the impression that he wants to be in three, kind of that he wants to be out there all the time. I mean, I suspect if there wasn't a dog on his outside going into the bend, that he'd stay that line and actually might go a little bit quicker. I would be wildly encouraged by the fact that he's doing the likes of 13 the other night, 28-02 in the feet the previous. I'd be wildly encouraged by that because I think he's going to improve quite a bit. He's gone from a dog who looked like a strong dog to a dog with massive early pace. And when he puts it all together and develops into a dog that has both together, I mean, I don't know how far he can go. He can go a long, long way. And like to me, even though he's been caught late by Highview Splash, you might tell us the section in a minute, the late section from the closing section. But I think he's going to have the nice blend. Certainly going to be. I think he'll be a Derby dog. He might be a Laurels dog, but I think he'll be a Derby dog.
Yeah, he's doing 12:26 home, which is okay. It's not sensational.
Fine, it's fine.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's
It's
fine.
perfectly fine. It given his early speed, you'd sacrifice at length coming home than you would to the third bend. Like let's keep going this trajectory rather than the staying route. Or like as you said, he's sharpened up. No question, he's sharpened up. He definitely wasn't showing this early speed in his first 2 or 3 starts around Curraheen Park. It was more evident perhaps in the final, but since he's come to Shelbourne, he's developed another gear. And yeah, so taken by him. Obviously, Barry, you've known about him from quite some time. I think there was loads of talk about him before the Cork competition even started. And he certainly did everything right to back it up. But I think he's a different animal now.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think look, you both summed it up perfectly there. His early speed now is a fantastic asset, and I think there's much more to come from this ground, and I think he will develop into a Derby dog next year. I know Robert Gleeson holds him in the highest of regards, and it's great to see him continue his winning form. And the second as well is such a pacey animal. Highview Splash, there'll be better days ahead for that ground. It's another great talent, and yeah, it was a fantastic way to open up the heats there the other night. A lot to like about the performances.
Yeah, Miami King ran a hell of a race to actually get third in the end. He's only beaten 3.5 lengths. He's doing 28:37. He's certainly going the right way as well. I wouldn't be giving up on him. He didn't get the start the other night. He's capable of going up better. Drubby's Mandolin was fourth. She took the bump on the opening corner, but she's third down the back straight. She's picked up late for third spot. But like, don't get me wrong, like this was her first defeat. She's been coming forward leaps and bounds. She's a sister to Drubby's Flightline. She's a potential Oaks champion next year. There's no question about it. She has everything in her locker. I wouldn't be too disheartened by the fact that she's beaten and knocked out the other evening. On to the second heat, where Lyric Comrades, which seems to be the ongoing thing at the moment. We saw Flightline and Mandolin. We were talking about Born Warrior, the other Kobe. We're talking about Jack Tavern, Bolt, and Balnakill Elf. Well, we have Short Grip and Groucho's Duke. On this occasion, Groucho's Duke got the better of the argument. Gentlemen, I'm not sure if either of you saw the full race. Did you see the full race?
I did, but I can't remember the start because I just watched a video there earlier on, and they showed from the first print. I actually did see it earlier on. I can't remember.
The commentator controls the graphics and the computer hung. So by the time it actually allows it record, they're already around the opening bends. So what happened was Short Grip and Groucho's Duke both broke well. Short Grip edges off slightly, but they're challenging, sort of disputing it early into the opening corner. Groucho's Duke is just getting the better of the argument into the bend, and the bitch is forced to check off wide. So she goes from being a half length down to being 3.5 lengths down, headed briefly by Point of Rescue. And thereafter, she takes off. She's closing. She's only beaten a half length by Groucho's Duke. I thought it was a huge run by the runner-up, but Groucho's Duke, there's no question about him. He is just that touch sharper. And 28:35 the other night. He has 28:19 in his car. He's certainly a dog with a big future, but God, I really like the sister Short Grip. I think she's a hell of a lady. What's your take on the Barry?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind having either of them. Two fantastic greyhounds from the same litter, and two with big futures. Obviously, the Groucho's Duke dog, I suppose, has been making a big impression in recent weeks, and I know there's been plenty of interest in that dog as well. But as you said, the runner-up showed bundles of pace as well. So two fantastic displays.
Yeah, another duo not for sale. I've been told. I know of men that have tried to buy both, and neither sale is happening. Back in third was Highview Trees. It was 20-1 chance. Ran well in defeat, 28:73, but it's not going to win him a Juvenile. Derby, Scooby the Duke, Miami Prince, and Point of Rescue went out there. But a lot to like about Groucho's Duke, and for me in particular, Short Grip. I think she's a hell of a lady. She's another one that could be an Oaks contender next year. And then on to Heat 3. We've already touched on Heat 4. This was the race where Da went out. We've spoken enough about him. Deadly Jet, Barry, a half brother to Susie Sapphire. He's starting to find his feet. Showed lovely early speed up the inside. Got to the front, and they are coming back at him unmatched. Challenges him off the last bend. But at the winning line, Deadly Jet's going away again. I thought it was a very pleasing performance by a dog who I don't think we've quite seen the best of just yet.
Yeah, I think that's correct. He's a dog that's definitely going the right way. Of course, he had a couple of eye-catching runs on his card before he made the trip to Shelbourne Park, and it was another really really good performance, and great to see the likes of Carl Ramsbottom with another exciting young talent. And he certainly is going to play a part in this competition over the course of the next couple of weeks. The Dollar match showed plenty of pace back in second as well. That's another really, really talented sort.
Tommy?
More middle seed to my mind.
Deadly Jet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think there's any point at the race apart from maybe out of traps, which is perfectly good. That's what you want to do, break out of trap one. Don't think there's any other part of that race where he really wants to be tight to the rails. He's kind of middle to wide down the back, not middle to wide, middle down the back. He's very wide turning for home. A good sign that he's chasing hard too, but it's they can also happen a little bit when they're tiring maybe, because he's a young dog. He's only had 8 runs. He's entitled to improve. It'll be interesting in the semi-finals on Saturday night because he got High Blue Splash in 2. Not a massive early pacer, but certainly capable of breaking to the 2:06 the other night. 2:05 the other night. Balnakill Alf will be showing the big early pace into the bend to try to get across them, and it'll just be interesting what happens at the bend. Just think it could be one where maybe Balnakill Alf gets away and there might be a bit of trouble in behind.
Yeah, I think Highview Splash was in a race the other night with considerably more early speed than the race that Deadly Jet was in. So I think it won't be just absolutely guaranteed that Deadly Jet leads Highview Splash into corner. I could see Highview
Oh
Splash
no,
turning.
oh no, no.
Yeah, I could see him turning second. But I think we're all in agreement that Balnakill Alf off a level start probably leads any dog in Ireland, yeah, around the opening corner.
Apart from his brother, maybe.
Carrigaldo. Could be quite a race. Could be quite a race. I think he'd lead his brother. I'll put that out there. Yeah, that's a hell of a contest. Deadly Jet in one, Highview Splash in two, Balnakill Alpha out in trap five. Just behind Deadly Jet, unmatched, as you said, Barry ran very, very well in defeat. Sing Along Dolly is improving as well. She's only had the 5 career starts. That was her 5th race of the night. She's a nice type. She's in very hot the next night. We'll talk about the 2 semi-finals because she's in trap 3 in that contest I've just mentioned. Deadly Jet, Highview Splash, Sing Along Dolly, Droopy Zelda, Balnakill Alpha, and Miami King. There are certainly, in fact, they're all 6 of them are capable of doing a 28-20 around Shelbourne Park. In fact, most of them have it on their card. Tommy, don't you start. Balnakill Alf though will be in front. That could be the start of it. That could be where the race is won and lost, Barry.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think Balnakill Alf, obviously, I'm sure his favourite to win the competition. Definitely the one to beat. And I think the Pillar Syndicate will have plenty to shout about over the next couple of weeks, and they're certainly enjoying some run of it.
Yeah, as I said to them the other evening, you've had worse nights, lads. A winner in the Laurels, a winner in the Juvenile Derby, and a winner in the St. Ledger in the UK. They have potentially 3 classic winners on their hands at present. Tommy, what do you think of the heat?
Look, it's not cut and dried. And
No.
in fairness, the betting in Shelbourne is generally competitive. So I suspect that if you do fancy Ballinkill Alf, you won't be asked to go too short to back him. Highview Splash is obviously a player. If he can clear Deadly Jet quickly, and you're kind of suggesting that he can, well, then he's a real player because if he gets in on the rails and stays the way he stayed, and old Droopy's Flight 9 is coming back a bit, and we talked about the sectional being fine and probably no more than that. But Highview Splash could get into a lovely position. Highview Splash has only had, I think, 6 runs, is it? You
Yeah.
know, I think this is like, look, have a look though. Have a look where we are, right? This is Juvenile Derby semi-final. The best times of the 6 semi-finalists in that heat: 28-28, 27-97, 28-27, 28-24, 28-10, 28-37.
Yeah.
That's savage quality.
Yeah, it is savage quality, no question about it. And the fastest of them is Highview Splash, not Balnakill Alf, and that's worth bearing in
Yeah.
mind. Balnakill Alf
Yes.
will need 4 lengths in him at halfway.
Can't afford to do anything wrong. And like, he was in 4 the other night, and I thought he kind of stepped right, which I'm kind of happy enough about to some degree because it was straight enough. It wasn't a marginal right, and he showed the right kind of tracking ability the other night. I liked it. It's a development, and I think he'll be fine from 5. He has won from 5. We saw that, but he did come in across that night. I think he's maturing, and he might get away with it. But Ivy Splashes are real, real, real dangerous. Nothing between these two.
Yeah, he's 3 from 3 from trap 5. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And
No.
he's also happened to win his last 2 from trap 4. So yeah, I think he's a dog that'll handle any draw because he does
But
tend
you
to
know
run
what?
straight those first few yards, and given his early speed and his immediate acceleration, he can get himself out of trouble.
And even if you're connections, right, and you're going, look at this again. There's an inside seed. We're after getting 4. We're after getting 5. We're getting 4. We're getting 5. It's actually, at this stage of the dog's development, it's brilliant because it's
Yeah,
teaching them so much.
yeah. No, I think he's a dog going forward. You wouldn't be too worried about any draw. Droopy's flight lines in trap 6 in the second heat, Barry.
Yeah.
That's not ideal, but given his early speed, he's in a similar enough scenario. He could easily get the better of the argument into the opening corner. Short grip is in 1. She'll move off. So that's an issue for Stone Park Sid and potentially Groucho's Duke, who will need to be doing everything right at boxes. Highview Treats in 4 and will match her in 5. I don't think either of them can match Droopy's flight line into the bend, but it's a case of, okay, he's had a bit of experience now. What has he had? 6, 7 starts, Druby's flight line. He'll want to be getting away on terms. We saw what happens with the laddie da. We're hoping something similar doesn't happen with Druby's flight line.
Yeah, definitely. Look, trap number 6, is never ideal, and he'll have to be, on his top game there on Saturday night. Can't afford any mistakes, early, and it looks a good competitive contest now. I think it'll be hard enough to predict the winner in that.
Yeah, Tommy.
Well, considering that he showed that he had a bit of stamina and a determination in Cork, it would be interesting to see what would happen. What might happen Saturday night if he's led. will he
Yeah.
stay on? Sometimes the dogs have that determination that, looking at him there, you'd say on the last two nights, you'd say if he's led, he might be in trouble. But actually, we know from his history that, and it's only short history, 7 races, that he has the determination to win from off the pace. So I think Connection should be looking at that goal. Look, if we qualify, happy days, and hopefully we get a decent draw in the final.
Yeah, like we all sort of look back to the Deladdy Da run where he picked him up and beat him 3.5 lengths. Like Flightline staying on well enough to do 28:02. So like
Yes.
it's not that he's fading away. It's just that he ran into
Yeah.
one. Simple as that. But no, there's no question. Yeah, Drubby's Flightline can play a big part. And I tend to agree with you, Tommy. You mentioned earlier on, just looking back at his race the other evening, I think I'd want him in trap 3 or 4 most nights. I think he's more of a middle runner. And off that second bend, he is definitely notable. He's out to trap 8 down the back straight. Yeah, he's a big player, no question about it. And I do think there is potential for a bit of crowding on the inside. I think Drubby's Flightline would be just fine. Gentlemen, if I had to get you to pick the winner, Tommy, are we all looking at Ballinkill?
No, we're not, because Saturday night will tell a lot, because it's that tight. It's that tight in terms of the ability of the Greyhounds that I talked about the times, and that heat alone. You add in 28:02 of Drubby's Flightline and whatever else you've 28:19, 21, 31. I mean, it's the draw is going to be so important. I think Ballinkill for Alf is the deserving favourite, but if you got to the final, right? Say Drubby Flightline got to the final, he was drawn 3, and Ballinkill Alpha drawn 4.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting. And then put Highview Splash in along the inside just for a bit of fun.
Yeah, yeah, no question about it. Barry, if I had to get you to pick one.
Yeah, pretty obvious pick for me, Ballinkill Alf.
Lovely, lovely. We nearly got there earlier on. Just a few performances across the water we have to give a mention to in the Ledger. Graham Holland had a brace with Jack Tavern Bella getting off the front. Ballymac Katie was out of luck. Herself and her sister Ballymac Taylor wanted the same line. They ran the same points in each bend. They got into trouble all the way around, and Jack Tavern Bella got off the front and just kept galloping to line. A very, very good winner. Garfinny Blaze had to work an awful lot harder to win, but he did so very, very well. The two of them are in the final now next Saturday night. Drubby's Clue will be favoured. He's had everything his own way the last 2 nights. It'd just be very interesting to see if Garfinny Blaze or Jack Tavern Bella get off the front, whether Drubby's Clue would be quite strong enough to pick them up. That'll be very interesting. And Bocco's Crystal was a good qualifier in second. She didn't get the start she needed. She took a little bump early, but she ran very well behind Stone Park Sid, who will be most likely, not Stone Park Sid, Churchfield Sid, who will be the pretty warm favourite to win the final. But Bocco's Crystal's drawn trap 1 in a race packed with early speed could be the place to be. Barry, did you see any of the action from the UK?
No, I didn't, to be honest, but I followed the progress of Churchfield Sid, who looks a real talent, of course. He was sold out of Curraheen Park, so Cork connections there.
I knew that was coming. As soon as you said about your, I was going, oh, here we go. Tommy, you didn't keep an eye on it, but you'll be keeping an eye on Saturday night, I'm sure.
I'll keep an eye on Saturday night, right? But I tell you, the racing is getting like the Greyhound racing is getting like the horse racing. There's so much of it. It's hard to keep on top of it all. Although it's probably a good sign of the planning of the year now, in terms of even just without even including the UK stuff. We have a good cat. I think say people are sick and tired looking at me now. I don't know about you, but me. But so maybe they'll get away in a few weeks' time. We might take a break.
No, I'm sick and tired of seeing you too. I will be seeing you though on October 14th. I'll be down for the final of the Barwon Racing, and in conjunction with the friends and supporters of Cork Greyhound Racing Irish Laurels. I wouldn't like to be calling that as they're coming to the winning line. Our thanks to our sponsors, of course, to Barwon Racing and the friends and supporters of Cork Greyhound Racing, and of course to the sponsors of the Juvenile Derby, Time Greyhound Nutrition. It's their first sponsorship of the Juvenile Derby, and by God, they've been handed a good one, and we'll be talking about it for many months to come, I'm sure, referencing back to it, to all our sponsors of all the various events we've spoken about this evening. Thank you so much indeed. But that's it from this evening, folks. My thanks once again to the Exile Dub and to his partner in crime, Barry Drake. Two of you, no doubt. Oh, no, Tommy's in the stall. You won't be meeting up for a bit of breakfast or something, no?
No, but I'll tell you, I'm running out for breakfast now because I didn't have anything. Yes, and... so I haven't know, Ian.
Sorry about that, Barry. I hope they close. I hope they stop serving breakfast at 11 o'clock. I hope it's like McDonald's. No McMuffins for you, big guy. Right. Because Barry has to go off and have his breakfast, we're going to say goodbye to you. That's it from us on Talking Dogs on this Monday evening. Good luck, good evening. God bless.